One of Asia's biggest fortunes came out of a tin of ointment, Tiger Balm, and the man who owned it, Aw Boon Haw, never let anyone forget who he was. His name went on the tin. His money went into theme parks and into newspapers across half of Asia. Everyone in Asia knew the name. No one could agree on the man behind it. The British Empire honored him as a philanthropist, an imperial decoration pinned to his chest. China embraced him as a patriot. Its leader autographed his flagship newspaper. And in 1949, that China was gone. A new regime branded him a traitor, seized everything he owned, and banned the balm from the country itself. Decorated, embraced, erased, same man, 3 verdicts. Which one was right? Aw was born in Rangoon, British Burma, 1882. The elder son of a Chinese medicine seller who had carried his recipes out of the homeland. The shop was small. The name over the door was not the Hall of Everlasting Peace. Aw was the son who caused trouble, fights, truancy, enough of it that his parents shipped him back to China to be disciplined. The discipline didn't take. What came back was the same boy, older, and entirely certain he couldn't be ignored. He came home to a shop that could barely feed the family. Then the father died. The shop passed to Aw and his younger brother. 2 brothers, opposite men. The younger brother was quiet, English educated, methodical, and it was his hands that reworked their father's recipes in the family kitchen until one came out right, a salve of camphor, menthol, and clove oil. The elder brother couldn't make anything, but Aw Boon Haw could sell everything. His own name, Boon Haw, meant tiger. So he stamped a springing tiger on the tin and renamed his father's medicine after himself. Tiger Balm. The recipe was his father's. The formula was his brother's. The name was his. And he had understood something most merchants of his day had not. The salve was ordinary. Camphor and menthol sat on every shelf in Asia. What nobody else was selling was a name. So he made himself the name. He wore glasses of 18-karat gold, though there was nothing wrong with his eyes. He had asked for 24. Even the goldsmith said no. The glasses were not for seeing. They were to be seen. A poor shopkeeper's son, dressed as a man of learning. And being seen was the strategy. He canvassed Rangoon's merchants himself, shop by shop, putting the small hexagonal tins on every counter. And the costume did half the selling. Nobody forgot the man in the gold glasses, and nobody forgot the tiger on his tin. The tin cost pennies to make and sold on that name alone. So he made sure the name was everywhere. It worked. Before he turned 40, he was the richest Chinese merchant in Rangoon. In his mid-40s, he moved the whole operation to Singapore, a bigger port in a city where most of the population was Chinese. And in Singapore, he staged a bigger performance. He commissioned a car, a British Humber rebuilt around a snarling tiger's head. Chrome fangs, wire whiskers, red bulbs burning in the eye sockets, a horn tuned to roar. It looked like a stunt. It was a shop on wheels. He drove it out of the city and into the villages, handing out free Tiger Balm as he went. The spectacle pulled the crowd. The crowd went home, holding his tin. A car could only visit one village at a time. So he built something the crowds would come to. Theme parks, 2 of them, each with 1,000 painted statues. And he named them after the balm, the Tiger Balm Gardens. He called them a gift to the public, free to enter, forever. The papers said it plainly. The Tiger's lifestyle was a walking advertisement. The stunts weren't a sideshow. They were the show. While rival merchants paid for advertising page by page, his advertising walked, drove, and roared for free. And the balm rode his name onto shelves from British Burma to the Dutch East Indies. A lifetime before, Richard Branson crossed oceans in a balloon to keep his brand on the front page. Aw was running the playbook already. Make the founder the spectacle, and the spectacle sells. By now, he was one of the best-known businessmen in Asia. The papers wrote about him when it suited them. When he wanted the papers to write for him, they charged him, page by page, year after year, at their price. Most businessmen would have haggled the price. Aw bought the paper. His own explanation survives. Better to run one's own newspaper than spend on advertisements. That one sentence summed up the whole game. Every business pays a price to win a customer. The ad in the paper, the sample given away, the salesman knocking on doors. The business world calls it customer acquisition cost. His was a bill for advertising space, in papers he didn't own, at prices he didn't set. Every page had a price. Every year, the price went up. And the bigger the name, the bigger the bill. So Aw ran the math. Stop renting the space. Own the paper. A century on, a new breed of tycoon would rediscover the move. Why pay for the ad when you could buy the platform? Aw got there first. In 1929, in Singapore, he launched Sinshu Daily, his own newspaper, built to carry his own ads. Rivals sold their papers at 10 cents. Aw sold his at 8. He wasn't selling newspapers at a loss. He was buying customers at a discount. And one paper wasn't enough. Rangoon, Penang, Bangkok, Hong Kong, Chungking, all of them in Chinese for Chinese readers. Everywhere the balm sold. From the diaspora across Southeast Asia to the home market inside China itself. Every one of them was advertising space that Aw owned. Most of them lost money. That wasn't a failure of the plan. That was the plan. A paper that bled every month still delivered his tins into exactly the right hands, at a price no publisher could charge and no rival could undercut. The ointment funded the papers. The papers sold the ointment. By the late 1930s, Aw's factories were shipping over 20 million tins a year. Then he found a new source of publicity, the oldest one in the book: charity, hospitals, schools, disaster relief. Year after year, across the British colonies he lived and traded in, and every gift ran through the same machine, announced, reported, and celebrated in papers he owned. The British Empire answered with a medal, Officer of the Order of the British Empire for philanthropic services, a royal endorsement no ad money could buy. Aw bought it. Then he found a bigger source of publicity, not charity this time, patriotism. When Japan invaded China, his papers beat the drum for the resistance, and his donations followed, reported, naturally, on his own front pages. $4 million to China's wartime government, by Time magazine's count. Every dollar of it, news. China answered with something better than a medal. Generalissimo Chiang Kai-shek, China's wartime leader, autographed his flagship newspaper, and that autograph ran at the top of the front page. Every copy, every morning, the head of state as the sponsor. Aw flew into Chongqing, the wartime capital of China, and sat down with Chiang himself. two audiences. To the British, it looked like charity. To the Chinese, patriotism. Both were true. Neither was the point. He wasn't backing a cause. He was buying publicity. Every hospital, every donation, every front page, all of it sold balm. He had bought the two biggest signatures in his world. He never asked what happens when the signatures change. The signatures were about to change. December 1941, Pearl Harbor. Within hours, Japan came for the British Empire across Southeast Asia. Hong Kong fell by Christmas. Malaya went through January. Singapore surrendered in February. And in March, the Japanese took Rangoon. 90 days. Almost every city on Aw's business map was under Japanese occupation. The Balm Empire had a new landlord, a landlord at war with his entire customer base. The Japanese gave him a choice: flee the occupation and leave his business empire behind, or stay and keep everything under Japanese rule. He stayed, in character, dealing with whoever held power, as he always had. To the British, he had given charity. To the Chinese, patriotism. To the Japanese, he gave proof. The richest Chinese man in Southeast Asia, still open for business under their flag. His paper printed on, under a new name and a new tune. He flew to Tokyo and sat down with General Tojo himself. And he bought what he always bought: business as usual. The presses ran, the factories shipped, the balm sold. Then Japan surrendered. And what he had bought from Tokyo turned overnight into a curse, the label of a collaborator. Aw pivoted fast. The paper went back to the old name and the old tune. The donations resumed. The Chinese government embraced him with open arms. No charge over his wartime collaboration ever came. Nobody was eager to prosecute a benefactor. 20 years of good press was defense enough. Then the government that forgave him lost the country and fled to Taiwan. In 1949, the communists took over China and did what communists always do: confiscation. They sent Aw a bill, a ransom note with a state seal, an astronomical sum he was ordered to hand over. No negotiation, no appeal. For the man on file as a wartime collaborator, the sum was set to punish. He couldn't pay. So they declared his business in China enemy assets and took everything from him. The newspapers shut down. The factories seized. The balm banned from the country his father came from. 5 years later, he died of a heart attack. September 1954. His empire followed him down. 17 years later, a corporate raider took over his Singapore business, and with it, Tiger Balm itself. By the end of the century, the last of his newspapers was sold off in Hong Kong. Within one generation, nothing was left of his empire. Not the balm, not the presses. His whole life ran on one playbook: whatever the moment demanded, turn it into publicity and sell more balm. The glasses sold it, the car sold it, the theme parks sold it, the newspapers sold it, charity sold it to the British, patriotism sold it to the Chinese, collaboration sold it to the Japanese. The playbook worked through every turn of events for 30 years, until it didn't. Then came the communists, the one crowd the playbook couldn't work on. They had no appetite for stunts, no use for charity, and no interest in his headlines. There was no room in their China for a man like Aw, and no page in Aw's playbook for an audience like them. He had finally met his match. Remember how this story started. Decorated, embraced, erased. 3 audiences, 3 verdicts. Which one was right? Was Aw a marketing genius whose luck finally ran out? Or was he a chameleon who shapeshifted once too often and met his karma in the end? Let us know in comments. Subscribe to The Silk Ledger. We're auditing history, one chapter at a time.